A pitching duel at Coors Field? No, thank you. I hate it. I hate it so much. We have so much to talk about when it comes to tonight's loss. Join us in 30 seconds. Actually, if you're here, you're already here. So just don't go anywhere. What the hell was that we just watched? Welcome in to another edition of the PHNX D-backs podcast, brought to you by our friends at Bet365. Go download the Bet365 app right now. Sign up using our code at PHNX365. And of course, choose your offer and find out why it is never ordinary at Bet365. And of course, no baseball game featuring the Arizona Diamondbacks can be ordinary. Just as you would write it up, the Diamondbacks lose in a pitcher's duel at Coors Field because of the Colorado Rockies' excellent bullpen. What? Welcome in. My name is Derek Montia, occasionally known as your mayor of PHNX. This man next to me is the one and only People's producer himself, Damon Farrell. And of course, yes, the Diamondbacks lose a very important baseball game here to the Colorado Rockies by a score of 3-2. The D-backs offense was inexplicably dominated by the Rockies bullpen, which I was actually warned by several of our friends, Christian from over at DNVR, our guy Patrick, both talked about how good this young Rockies bullpen has been. It's a bunch of guys that have been called up recently, a bunch of guys making their major league debuts, and they did their thing tonight against the Arizona Diamondbacks. This is just the third time this season the D-backs have allowed 4 hits or less and lost the baseball game.
That really doesn't feel good, Derek, especially not when you get 8 hits against the Colorado Rockies and you can't manage a way to put more than 2 runs on the board. Just overall, like, I think I speak for a lot of people in this fan base when I say this was maybe the most disheartening game of the year.
Yes.
You're in a spot where every win matters. Every game feels kind of like a playoff game. And then, you know, your situational hitting is just awful. You lose the game on an error. It felt like a little league team tonight, and can't have that in September when you're fighting for a wild card spot.
Well, the D-backs' first 2 batters of the game scored, and then they didn't score again for the rest of the entire night. Corbin, Carroll triple to lead off the game. So from the positive side of things, that was Carroll's 14th triple of the year, which leads Major League Baseball and ties Tony Womack for the most in franchise history. So Corbin continues to do his thing.
That's crazy.
Considering
most in franchise history in 2 seasons.
No, most in franchise history in a single season. He has 14 this season. So yeah, Tony Womack had 14. So one more and he could set the franchise record for a season. Ketel Marte then brings him home with a 2-run home run, his 32nd of the year. And all is right. All is great. This feels like everything is going in the Diamondbacks direction, and it is going like so many games have gone for this team. Scoring early, scoring in the first inning, giving someone like Merrill Kelly, that run support early on. This was the D-backs' 35th occurrence of scoring 2 runs or more in the first inning, which sets a franchise record for that, right? So they're scoring, all over the place. Yeah. They seem to have the Rockies starting pitcher Antonio Senzatella figured out. And then just kind of like some other instances where they knocked the starting pitcher out of the game early. The minute the opposition goes to the bullpen, the Diamondbacks just can't figure out the Rockies bullpen. 1 for 4 with runners in scoring position today. They hit into 4 just devastating double plays, and they got some terrible luck too. Their expected batting average was outrageous compared to what the actual results were in this game. The
Yeah.
Diamondbacks were hitting absolute rockets just right at defenders, so this one was one of those games where obviously they didn't have a lot of offense. Things didn't go their way offensively with even some of the well-struck balls. And, they definitely shot themselves in the foot by hitting into so many double plays in this game.
2 batters up, Corbin, Carroll, Ketel, Marte, 2 runs scored. I mean, I think most Diamondbacks fans are sitting there thinking like, this can be a put your feet up on the table, put your hands in your hair, relax a little bit. This can be like a easy game to watch. And I mean, they just have such a tendency to come out of the gates and then just keel over the rest of the game. It's certainly an issue, and you just can't lose games like this to teams like this when you're in the circumstance that the Diamondbacks are in right now.
You're absolutely right.
It's unacceptable stuff, especially after the emotional win of yesterday. Like you come out after yesterday and you're pumped up. You feel like this team has got some new juice. Kickstarter into the final stretch of this season, and then they just lay an egg for 8 innings tonight. It's pretty unbelievable.
And you also spoiled a great outing from Merrill Kelly, right?
Yeah.
Merrill Kelly was the mainstay for this team when the Snakes absolutely needed him. He threw the entire arsenal tonight. He threw all 6 of his pitches. He primarily went with the cutter. He had some success with the slider. He got 4 whiffs on 11 sliders thrown, but he wasn't getting a lot of swing and miss in this one. And yet he was still very effective. He wasn't getting a lot of strikeouts, but he kept the Rockies off the board. He gave up the 1 solo home run. That was pretty much the one mistake he made to Ezekiel Tovar, but he was efficient with his pitch count. He gave the Diamondbacks an opportunity to win. He absolutely gave them an opportunity to win. Should he have been removed after 6 innings? Probably not. I don't know. I feel like maybe he should have stayed in the game a little bit longer. I think he was in the mid 80s as far as his pitch count was concerned. He kind of flew through some of those innings, but he did start to lose his command in the 5th inning. He seemed to kind of not be able to find the strike zone. He walked 2 batters in the inning. So I think maybe things were obviously trending in that direction, but Merrill was shoving, and then you bring in Kevin Ginkel, who obviously was not very good in his last outing, giving up 4 earned runs last time he pitched. And tonight, after getting 2 outs, he gave up the game-tying home run in this one.
Yeah, Kevin Ginkel hasn't been great recently, which is certainly, this is not the time for that. But on top of what you've already mentioned, did you think AJ Puck should have stayed in there for a little bit longer?
I do. But I mean, I also don't think that Ryan Thompson should have come out for the 9th inning. I mean, I know it was a matchup, and that's why they went to Thompson, and it worked. Thompson threw 1 pitch and got 1 out, but I don't know if the ups and downs for Thompson are necessarily the best thing, like having him go in the dugout and come back out.
Yeah.
I also just feel like this game was very, very close. So I would have liked to see Torey pull out all the stops and go to someone else there in the 9th inning. It felt like they were confident they were going to get through the 9th and go on to extra innings. So Torey needed to save arms for that situation. And that's kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation for a manager, especially considering the limited options that they have. They did call up some guys though, and they have some guys out there in the bullpen they haven't used yet. So I disagree with the decision to go back to Thompson in the 9th inning. I think that's the biggest miss in this one. And I mean, I know it wasn't Thompson's fault that it became what it became, but he did give up a leadoff single. You give up a stolen base, it turns into, runner in scoring position, and an errant throw from Geraldo Perdomo allows the Rockies to walk off this one.
Yeah, I think what the biggest issue here for me, at least, is that we shouldn't have been in a position where Torey was needing to pull out all the stops to get this W.
That's a great point. Offensively, they dropped the ball.
It shouldn't have been, hey, we have to use all of our best arms here in the bullpen because, we really got to squeeze out this win. It should have been an easy victory. So that's really where I think that the mistakes were made tonight. And it just comes down to the offense not getting the job done. And obviously you can't expect them. They're the number one offense in baseball. They can't do it every single night. I get that, but 2 runs in the first inning and 0 the whole rest of the game. When we're going to get into it later, but like the runners in scoring position numbers, just not good enough from this team tonight.
Right. And I think that there's something to be said about how they do score in bunches, right? So they have them leading Major League Baseball in offense is just a bit misleading because it's not like they're, you see some other teams, you see the Dodgers, right? The Dodgers kind of put it out there consistently, night in, night out. They might have their rare off night, but for the most part, you're getting 6-7 runs per night from the Dodgers, it feels like. And the Diamondbacks just kind of have those games where they blow up, and then they have nights like this. They have nights like game 1 against the Brewers, right?
Yeah.
This one's just so confusing, right? Because it's Coors Field. You had, some young rookies out there. You have a Colorado Rockies team that has little to play for other than, the individuals themselves are trying to prove themselves. They're trying to win playing time. And a lot of those guys in their bullpen obviously impressed with the way they handled the Diamondbacks tonight. But, the Diamondbacks didn't seem very patient. There was a lot of rushing at the plate. There was a lot of just, I don't know. I mean, it felt like they got very desperate. The less, the more they struggled offensively as the game went on, the more it felt like they were they're tensing up and not going out there and putting together good at bats. So I don't, this one was bad. This was a bad game. It was mismanaged. It was poorly played. And it comes right after a night where the Diamondbacks did so much, right, to come back and to fight hard in a game that they should have lost. This is a game that they should have won, that they absolutely lost. So this one's just one you got to move on from, because the Diamondbacks have to win games, and they have to win this series. They just have to. They don't have a lot of opportunities left, and the other teams that are in this race with them are winning. They're not all losing. I mean, the Braves got rocked tonight by the Dodgers, and that helps the Diamondbacks out a little bit.
Gross.
It is, right? It's gross to say. And I know there's going to be people that are just going to eat up the fact. They're like, there goes Derek again on his pro Dodgers stance. But hey, at this point, we just got to figure out a way to keep in the race. And I mean, the one thing that you can look ahead is that no matter, like, things could get bad for this team, but the Braves and the Mets have a very tough schedule going forward. And at one point, those two teams play each other, which one team could easily sweep that series and knock their opponent completely out of the playoffs. And then the Diamondbacks, once again, are going to find their, way in there in some spot right now. At this point, that's all that matters. It's just, they just got to get in. Every win, though, every game is crucial at this point. They cannot let these games against the Colorado Rockies slip past them. And this one absolutely did that.
Yeah, it's just such a you can't have losses like this in a wild card race that is the way that this one is going. I mean, it is kind of unfortunate because it feels like in a lot of years, we talked about it from last season, like we would be easily into the wild card, like it wouldn't even really be that much of a discussion. But granted, the Cubs were kind of in a similar spot last year during their collapse that they had down the stretch, and now the Diamondbacks find themselves just only a game up. I mean, it's gonna be shaky down the stretch here, Derek. I think we were hoping, I guess, as a collective, that this would be a little bit easier than last season in terms of making our way into the playoffs, but it looks like it could come down to that final stretch again. And I'll tell you what, I don't want to be playing the Padres needing to win baseball games to make the playoffs at the end of the year.
No. And somebody in the chat was absolutely right when they said it. But yeah, they're saying the same thing about the Diamondbacks playing the Padres in that last series, right? It's not it's not something you're confident about. But again, the Diamondbacks do have the ability to still win their way in, no matter how bad things get there late. There's a lot of games left, but not a lot for them to be completely knocked out of it. You know what I mean? There's always hope. And I know it feels depressing after a game like this, but the Diamondbacks could come back, still win this series against the Rockies, and still be in a great spot depending on how those other games work out. But we do have to give our King Snake to somebody. Most don't deserve it in this one. Few do. But of course, the one that does deserve it is Merrill Kelly. because he was great for this team tonight. Went 6 innings pitched, 2 hits, gave up 1 earned run, struck out 5. And again, probably could have gone 7, but that's just me saying that based on how the results went and looking through those 2020 hindsight glasses.
Yeah. I mean, no one else deserved this tonight. Like there's not, at one point, Derek, you texted me a little inside baseball here, and you said, what do we even do for King Snake? And I think we just came to the conclusion that there's literally one person that possibly could have won it.
That's it.
And the rest of the team just, I mean, not even close. So yeah, it sucks when you give out King Snakes in performance games like this. Like it kind of feels, like we're just like handing out a token participation trophy, but truly Merrill Kelly is like, he looks pretty good recently. Last few outings has been solid. And it's we're going to need more outings like that, because I think he's got what, 2 more starts left, or is it only 1 now down the stretch?
It should be 2. They have 12 more games to play.
Let's hope he
there
keeps it
should
up.
be 2. Yeah, let's hope. But we appreciate all of you guys for all of your crazy negative statements in the group chat. Go off. That's what you're here for. Vent. I don't care. Thunderbolt, welcome. Say all fire everybody. Thunderbolt. We appreciate
Derek,
you guys all.
We often talk about our chat being very like, as far as compared to the other chats around here at this company, we talk about this chat being very kumbaya. There's a lot of
I try to cultivate the vibes. I try my best, right? At the very least, with a 162 game season, I try to remind everybody to chill as much as possible, right? And of course, that gets me thrown into loving Torey, which I do. I don't even try to hide that. And capping for this team, which I don't do. I never do that. I just have to be nice and watch what I say, because I got in trouble one time. But I will say that, hey, every single one of these games are matter, right? And I take back what I said to Elise, because apparently with the way these other teams won't stop from winning, they are all must wins. And at this point, it very, very much feels like it's a must win for this team. But we do thank you guys all for being here in the PHNX Sports YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, do so now. Sign up for notifications if you haven't done so already. That way, whenever our wonderful shows go live. We did an emergency podcast yesterday based on that fun win. And again, with playoffs right around the corner and all of these very, very crucial games happening, you never know when we're going to go live. So make sure to join us for that. Of course, if you are listening on the audio podcasting side, we appreciate you over there as well. Make sure you subscribe on your favorite audio podcasting app and leave us a review. We appreciate it. Those 5-star reviews mean the world to us. We will talk a little bit more about this game, even though I don't want to. We'll also have Jesse Friedman joining us here from Coors Field shortly. But first, we have to talk about Empire Today, because Empire Today has some amazing options for you as a customer. And when I say options, I mean ability to check out flooring, see how the flooring is going to look in your home, and not have a single human being bother you until you are ready. And of course, they make shopping for new flooring quick, easy, and convenient. And that quick part is the most important part. Their speed and service is just something you won't get at a big box store. And of course, they also service their own warranties. So if anything should go wrong once your flooring is installed, Empire Today will take care of it themselves. You won't have to track down a manufacturer's phone number or go through that process. But they do have their virtual floor designer, which is a great way to see how the new floors will look in any space. And of course, you can instantly see how the wonderful flooring options that they have for you will look in your home. And that's another thing, is the options that they will provide to you will fit what you're looking for. So you won't have to look through thousands of styles that don't fit your needs, what exactly you're trying to put in your home. Schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners can receive that $350 discount when they use promo code PHNX. Restrictions do apply. See empiretoday.com/PHNX for details. And of course, as you know, no one does it better than Gila River Resorts and Casinos. You can visit any one of their 4 locations here in the Valley to experience the best that the Valley has to offer. Wild Horse Pass, Lone Butte, Vikiva, Santan Mountain. Of course, they have all of their wonderful resorts. You can go stay at any of these wonderful places. A staycation is always a great idea, no matter the time of the year. If you have family coming into town, you can suggest that they go stay there instead of at your house. And then everybody wins because they have a magical experience staying over there, and you don't have those intruders staying once again in your home. As you can tell, the theme of tonight is that I don't want people really in my home a lot, and I'm sure some of you out there feel the same way. But of course, you can do you at Gila River Resorts and Casinos, and they can do themselves over there when they stay there. But you could also go visit them and then have a wonderful time there as a group, checking out the over 4,500 slots that they have, the live table games, which are always exhilarating. And of course, you can catch all of the action in the sporting world at any one of their sports books. We will also be hosting our events there all year long, including Cardinals and Suns watch parties and so much more. So stay tuned for more information on how to come hang out with us. And of course, again, you do you at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Visit playathila.com for more details. All right. Well, Damon, let's take a look at the count presented by Desert Financial Credit Union, because this one is a bit ugly. Diamondbacks lose to the Rockies 3-2. They actually out-hit the Rockies 8-4. Runners in scoring position, Rockies were 0 for 4. Diamondbacks were 1 for 4. Extra base hits, both teams had 2. And of course, that XBA that I talked about earlier, the Diamondbacks' expected batting average in this one was 312. Sean's not wrong. Look away, chat. Avert your eyes, children. This is not a good post-game count. It's just not. 205 expected batting average for the Rockies. And I do not know how the Diamondbacks lost this game, but that's what I'm saying. When you see an XBA of that, you see the Diamondbacks got 8 hits. They hit into 4 double plays. You know that there were a couple of things that went wrong for them. Luck and some great defense by the Rockies. And there's a few of you, including my man Thunderbolt, who I love you, Thunderbolt, who are saying, how do you lose to the Rockies? It's the Rockies. This is a team that has been out of the anything since April, right? And this is a team that really has a bunch of no-name guys. And maybe that's it. Maybe it's a lack of information that the Diamondbacks had on the Rockies due to the fact that they have so many young players that they've called up recently. Maybe it's the fact that this team is a different team and that they are playing for a bit more than wins. They're kind of all playing for playing time and to kind of be thought of to be included, in this Rockies team moving forward. But you got to tip your cap because they played a great game tonight. And a big reason why the Diamondbacks were held the way that they were held was some great pitching and some great defense from the Rockies. It's not an excuse sometimes when you just get beat by the opposition, but the Diamondbacks also had a few things not go their way tonight as well when you could look at that expecting batting average and see the way things went. But this one, not great. Not great, Damon.
No,
you have anything else on this one? Because I want to flush this one as fast as possible.
It's what you talked about earlier, or you mentioned it with the double plays. That's how you lose the game. You double their hit total. The reason you lose the game is because your situational hitting was not only invisible, but it was detrimental to what you were trying to do. You're getting runners on, and immediately there's cleared bases. So yeah, I mean, I think it's simple. That's where the loss lies. And I do have to say though that this Seth Halverson guy, he was pretty nasty.
He was nasty.
I don't even think that that's a scouting report thing. That guy was disgusting. He
just 100 plus and then dropping an 87 mile per hour splitter in the zone. It was wild.
Yeah, he was really, really good. I don't think that that's a scouting report thing. That looks like the Rockies might have a guy there.
Yeah. Well, of course, the Diamondbacks still have 2 more against them, 4 more against that nasty Brewers squad that we saw. And then I don't know, this was supposed to be the easy one, right? Well, not so easy, but of course, the Diamondbacks did win that game yesterday against the Brewers, and I think we have video from Jesse in regards to Torey talking about tracking that game. I don't know if you remember, but Torey was not actually managing the Diamondbacks win against the Brewers. He was attending Billy Bean's funeral. This is what Torey had to say on tracking the game himself over the course of the day.
Yeah, I was watching on my phone, and probably a place that I shouldn't have been watching on my phone, and I was just keeping track of the score. And we were up 5-0, and the first time I looked at it, and I felt good about that. And went back to some conversations, and then next thing you know, we were down 7-5. So I don't know how it happened, but I got filled in pretty quickly post game with the front office conversations and different things that happened. But I think I was tuned in very, very well once we got back into the game in the 10th inning. So especially the guys, how proud I was of them. They fought. There's a strong desire to link up, stay together, fight together, and go out and make good things happen.
And Monty back says it best. He says, Billy wouldn't mind if you took a look. Yeah, that's probably not, you're not wrong there. But Torey, much like all of us at events that he shouldn't be watching sports, is watching sports. But yeah, this one, not so great. Torey got to be present for this one. He did also say pregame, talked about Adrian Del Castillo being sent down. Here's what Torey had to say about sending ADC down.
Yeah, it's a secondhand conversation. It was continue working defensively. They're hard conversations because he's been so impactful for us. Came in here and he helped us win baseball games. So not to try and do too much offensively. Continue learning and growing about pitch sequencing and what the stuff looks like. But mostly from a defensive standpoint, we challenge them to continue growing and getting better.
That's kind of the short version as to why Herrera over him.
I think so. I think that was told to him, right? Where they're at right now defensively, we have Herrera ahead of him, correct.
Makes sense. And it's something we've talked about a bit. Adrian Del Castillo was wonderful for this team while he was here. He made a lot of mistakes. There were a lot of shortcomings that got exposed at a major league level, but I think he's still developing, and hopefully he can still provide something wonderful for this team coming up here at some point. You know, I still think he could be a future catcher for this team. He proved that he could play at a major league level.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think a lot of teams in baseball, I think, will value hitting significantly higher than defense. I mean, catcher's a little different because it's such an impactful defensive position, but I just think the Diamondbacks are just not that team. And if they think that you're not up to snuff from a defensive standpoint, they'll send you down and tell you got to get better at it. It's similar to Blaze, and I know he had a really hot start and cooled off significantly, but I remember we were having those conversations at that point too of like, even though Blaze is hitting 300, he's probably going to get sent down when people start getting back healthy because he can't defend. And I think Del Castillo, it was like Jesse was tooting that horn the entire time of like that he's just not the caliber of defender that they need at that position. And he's going to have to go work on things. So I think we all really like what we saw from ADC and think that he has a bright future here. And I love the idea of a platoon with Gabby and ADC if that can be something that we have in the future. But yeah, he needs to improve that defensive aspect, especially those throwing runners out part of things.
Yeah, his arm and getting runners was definitely a weakness of his for sure. But of course, we are ready to hear some more from the man, the myth, the legend, coming to us from Coors Field. It's the one and only Thunderstick Jesse Friedman. Jesse, welcome in. We've already talked about this one, and of course, I know we're contractually obligated to talk about it some more since you are there in Colorado at Coors Field. But I would much rather hear about your airplane ride or anything else at this point than this game, because it made me very, very sad, and I want to scream so much after seeing the Diamondbacks lose this one.
Well, the weather's great, Derek. We could just talk about the lovely Denver weather. Although I have a feeling
that makes me sad too.
Angry too. Yeah, I think no matter what I say,
it's pretty lovely here today. I can't lie. I think it was in the low 90s today, so I don't hate that. But I'm sure it's much cooler and much nicer where you're at. Just wasn't. I guess was cold enough to cool off the Diamondbacks bats in this one.
It was, yeah. I mean, just a bizarre day for the Diamondbacks offensively. It wasn't like they didn't have base runners. I mean, they did. I think they had the first man on in the inning 5 out of 6 times, during one pretty elongated stretch of this game. So they had their opportunities for sure. I guess you could maybe criticize the fact there wasn't a ton of slug from the Diamondbacks in this game. Obviously, you had the Corbin triple and then the Ketel home run off the top. But then after that, I believe there was literally nothing outside of singles for the D-backs the rest of the way. So, Yeah, it's as we've said in the past, if everything's a single, it's tough to score that way, and it's especially tough when basically all of the base runners you get are immediately erased because of a double play or because of a caught stealing, which also happened in this game. Corbin Carroll caught stealing second by Hunter Goodman, who had never caught a base stealer in his major league career coming into today. So just, yeah, I mean, one of the most brutal losses of the year for the Diamondbacks. This is a game that you figured, all right, you're up 2-0, 2 batters into the game. You're probably going to coast to a victory here. Merrill Kelly on the mound, who did pitch really well. And obviously it did not end that way.
Yeah. And, I think the most frustrating part about it is it's Coors Field. With the way that this Diamondbacks offense has been producing, you just figured at any point, that big inning was right around the corner, that big output. And the more you saw them struggle as a group, the more you got that sinking feeling that it wasn't going to happen. Four double plays just absolutely killed any momentum that they had going at times. And I mean, the body language and everything was very telling of this team. Like, I don't understand why they look so defeated, but it really did after about inning 5 or 6, you really did start to see these guys not look like they were, at the top of their game.
Yeah, you're right. There was a lot of frustrated body language throughout this one. Ketel Marte, when he struck out in what I believe was his final at bat of the game, he looked just totally disgusted. And I mean, understandably so, right? Like you don't necessarily want players to withhold all emotion in those kind of moments. It can be okay to let out some, express your feelings in a moment like that, which Ketel certainly did. But there was a lot of that throughout the game. It just felt like the Diamondbacks couldn't get out of their own way in this one, frankly. They had plenty of opportunities, as we said. They had plenty of base runners. I mean, the Rockies only had 4 hits in this game, but 2 of them went over the fence, and the other, one of the others was a single by Brenton Doyle that came on an 0-2 pitch from Ryan Thompson. Ryan Thompson threw about as center cut of a 4-seam fastball as you'll ever see, and Doyle just knocks it out to right field for a single. He instantly steals second base, which I thought was interesting. You kind of figured that once Gabriel Moreno returned for the Diamondbacks, that the whole base stealing thing would at least become less of an issue.
Yeah.
Brenton Doyle is obviously very fast, but he wasted no time. He ran instantly on the very first pitch there. So just in all facets, just a brutal day for the D-backs. I guess silver lining again being the fact that Merrill Kelly did look pretty good in this game.
Yeah, and I mean, you get to that point where that's, the one thing that you take away, and that's positive. Merrill Kelly gave them an opportunity to win, but still, at Coors Field with the number one offense in baseball, it just didn't feel like the Diamondbacks did a good enough job of playing situational baseball, right? Like, obviously, the Diamondbacks were being dominated a bit by the Rockies bullpen, and at one point it felt like there needed to be something, some more work being put in. There were a lot of, first pitch outs, and especially hitting into those double plays, swinging at the first pitch. It was just an impatient night, and I guess maybe that's it. Maybe the fact that it's Coors Field, these guys were just chomping at the bit to go out there and smash the ball over the wall, and that wasn't happening for really either team much tonight. Like, neither team had much going on offensively.
Yeah, and I think it's also important to note that the Rockies have, like, I'm not going to say the Rockies have been playing great lately, but the Rockies have been playing better. I mean, they just took 2 out of 3 against the Chicago Cubs, who are a team that whatever was left of their playoff hopes, so they basically ended over the weekend when they lost 2 out of 3 here at Coors. And we've seen the Rockies do this to other teams. They took a series from the Padres here, I believe it was last month, and I think the Braves as well. They took 2 out of 3 games here, so they have the ability to play spoiler, and especially in this ballpark. This was not a prototypical Coors Field game, obviously, just being a final score of 3-2, but Coors Field still came into play, Derek. There were still fly balls that were 89 miles an hour off the bat that pushed Pavin Smith to the warning track. And most notably, I think both of the home runs that the Rockies hit tonight, I'm not totally sure that those are not homers in other ballparks. It's a hard thing to prove. It's hard to tell exactly how far those would have gone in another ballpark, but they went pretty far. Ezekiel Tovar's home run, it just sort of kept going. Like, as someone who was sitting sort of behind home plate, it was kind of stunning. I mean, he did hit it hard. It was 102 miles an hour off the bat, but generally speaking, to go to right center field, 102 miles an hour at, I think it was a 34-degree launch angle, that's not usually going to do it to that part of the ballpark. And it just kept flying and flying and flying, and it wasn't even really close. Like, it cleared the fence out there pretty comfortably. So Coors definitely, you definitely saw the impact of that in this one.
Zach's not wrong. I'm still blaming the lack of offense on Garrett Stubbs myself. Yeah, he's right. I don't know, Jesse. This one's depressing. And now we have from the Rockies insider, Patrick Lyons, in our chat. And he is saying, Derek, do the D-backs lack a killer instinct? See, this is why Patrick's not invited back on this show. It's things like this. It's this pun. Now's not the time for your jokes, Patrick. Okay, I get it. Yeah, there's a video game behind me, Killer Instinct with winky face. Oh, I'm thankful the listeners don't have to see that. Anyway, we'll have more from Jesse from the clubhouse, of course, here shortly. We do. Excuse me. Once again, thank you guys for being diehards. If you guys are not a diehard already, I implore you to go check out the diehard membership options over at gophnx.com. And join us. You'll get some wonderful options, including all of our wonderful content from Jesse, access to our Discord lounge, which is the best place to be an Arizona sports fan. You also get a free t-shirt of your choosing from the phnxlocker.com and so much more. So make sure to check out all the options. We would love to have you join us over here and become part of the family. Also, check out the wonderful clothing Brandon Bills has to offer. If you are looking to get them to maybe make some clothes for your company, make some clothes with your design on it, you could check out Brandon Bills. Elevate your brand with Brandon Bills. They have premium headwear and apparel, and right now you can save 20% with code PHNX. They have partnerships with ASU and U of A as part of their campus collection, and maybe some PHNX hats coming in the near future. You also have the fact they're a local company from right here in Mesa, Arizona. So check out all of Brandon Bills' wonderful hats. They have some amazing Arizona hats that you can check out as well. So check out everything they have to offer. Head on over to brandonbills.com, and again, use that code of PHNX for 20% off your first order. We'll also save you some money on tickets through Game Time. Game Time right now has a new feature called Game Time Picks that we have been talking about that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier and saving you even more money. Right now, you can check out Game Time Picks. It's an option when you go to your event. Up at the top, you'll see GT Picks. It filters out the fluff to show you only the incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets or, missing out on the best deal. They'll also, of course, cover your ticket with the lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. And of course, if you have any issues at all, your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So check out Game Time's aesthetically pleasing app. It's the most aesthetically pleasing ticket purchasing app, and you can take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code PHNX for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account and redeem code PHNX for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. All right, Jesse. Well, what do you have for us? Because I know this was a frustrating night for the offense. What did you have for us in regards to the offense tonight?
Yeah, we'll start with Torey, just talking about the Diamondbacks' approach at the plate. We talked earlier about some of the aggressive approaches that they had, the 3-pitch inning and all that. Here's what Torey had to say.
I don't know. I think we beat a couple balls into the ground. We hit a couple balls hard that didn't go our way. I want patient approaches. I think that's what we're so good at, and just driving up pitch counts and really forcing the pitcher into the trap game. And we had some early goes, and it didn't give us great results. So that to me is the most important thing. Coors Field, you don't expect a 3-2 game. You're more or less expecting a 9-8 game. But their pitchers did a good job.
Did that feel like that? I think there was a 3-pitch inning in there. Is that the one?
Yeah, those are things we got to be better with. It was the leadoff batter on. I think Jerry swung at a high breaking ball. and then Corbin swung at the third pitch of the inning. So we use it as a learning and teaching moment. We're not going to miss that opportunity to talk to those guys.
Well, I mean, the plate approaches weren't great tonight, but I do agree with Torey in regards to tipping your cap to the Rockies bullpen. Their pitchers did a great job, and they came out, and I mean they've been pretty good since being called up. It's a lot of young guys that made their debut for the Rockies this season, but they've come together to be very solid. And Patrick and others tried to warn me about their bullpen, and we got to see it firsthand tonight.
Yeah. I mean, Seth Halverson coming out and throwing 101 miles an hour. There's some new characters in this Rockies bullpen for sure. And to some extent, those guys should get credit, right? I think especially Halverson, who really looked very good going up against the middle of the Diamondbacks lineup. I know he did give up a couple of hits in the second inning, but again, a double play ball sort of helped out in that situation. So at the end of the day, I mean, Anthony Molina came in as frankly one of the worst pitchers in all of baseball at an ERA of nearly 7, and he threw 3 scoreless innings today. That's something that just can't happen. If you're the Diamondbacks, if you're the best offense in baseball, you've scored the most runs in the league by a wide margin in this ballpark against that pitcher. You just can't let that happen. Or if that does happen against him, you gotta find a way against some of these other guys. So definitely the Rockies pitching staff deserves some credit. There are some guys here. Be interesting to see Halverson, how his career, the evolution of his career over time. He was I think it was a 7th round pick just last year. So it's pretty remarkable that he's already pitching in the majors. But yeah, the D-backs needed to be better. And you heard Torey talk there about the approach and how, sometimes if the first 2 guys, if you've got 2 outs in an inning on 2 pitches, it's generally in your best interest to try to make the pitcher work a little bit. And in that spot, Corbin Carroll, was still swinging at the first pitch, grounds out, and there were a lot of other similar situations in this game as well.
So a lack of patience tonight at the plate, and it ruined a wonderful outing tonight for Merrill Kelly. This is what Merrill Kelly had to say in regards to his outing tonight.
Yeah, I mean, we had a conversation. I told him I was good with either. I could give him another one, but honestly, today I was pretty tired. I don't know if it was just one of those games that people talk about in Colorado that kind of the body just has a tough time getting going. And from the first inning, that's really kind of how I felt today. It was just kind of a grindy day as far as how my body was moving and how it was firing. Yeah, like I said, I told Torey after the 7th after the 6th, I was good with it either way. And I think with what happened last game and where we were at, obviously having the lead helps. But I think at that time, that was just the decision that was made.
Given that you felt that way, a little bit like it was a grind, the results were really good. You have to be pleased with that.
Yeah, well, definitely how I felt. I'm okay with how it went today.
Well, that one, that hurts a little bit because Merrill really gave them everything that they were looking for, and maybe Merrill needed to give them one extra inning. Like he looked like he had it left in him, even though he kind of struggled there in the 5th inning. And then, of course, that hindsight helps my opinion on that when Kevin Ginkel comes in and gives up that homer.
Yeah, it was interesting to hear Merrill there talk about how he felt tired. It does not sound like this was totally Torey Lovullo decided to take him out of this game unequivocally. You've got no chance to go back out there. Although, who's to say, maybe if Merrill feels totally fine and normal, maybe Torey still makes the decision that he did. And I think that is a fair, reasonable decision for Torey to make, right? This is a guy who's really, really important to the D-backs the rest of the way. And he's had this cramping issue that continues to pop up that, obviously resulted in him leaving his most recent start early. So I don't really have an issue with Torey being conservative, especially in this ballpark. And given the way that Merrill felt, the fact that he was willing to go on the record and say, I felt pretty tired, it's hard for me to really criticize that decision.
Yeah, for sure. He doesn't normally do that. Normally Merrill fights him, right? But of course, Kevin Ginkel, who has been so solid for this team, did give up that home run. Here's what Gink had to say about that homer.
It's frustrating, extremely frustrating, especially just coming off the game yesterday where we had a lead, and I gave up some costly runs. And so, yeah, I think with the Goodman at bat, it was a 1-0 slider. Obviously, I think he was anticipating it. It wasn't my best slider I've thrown, but it wasn't horrible. And for anything, I was not expecting that to be a home run. Like, I was expecting maybe a double, if anything. So, yeah, that part of it's extremely frustrating, and allowed them to tie the game there. So,
do you feel like, again, like I mentioned, the 2 outs, I know the results are what matters, but do you feel like you're close to getting back on track?
Yeah, I think there were some pitches yesterday where they were kind of fluky. I think that's just baseball sometimes. It stinks that it's at this point in the season now. I just kind of have to keep going. I feel like I'm doing a decent job. It's just the results just haven't been there. And so it's just frustrating. I know, this was a game that we wanted to win. We needed to win. It didn't go our way. So we'll be ready tomorrow.
How is he so calm? How is that man that is so fired up after he gets out of an inning, so genteel, so eloquent there after a loss? Like, it's you got to be frustrated, but that's what baseball is, right? In order for you to have success in this game, you got to be able to, make a mistake like that and still come out. I mean, he has not been good in his last 2 outings, but Kevin Ginkel, he's very important to this team, and they need him. They need him to get back on track.
Yeah, and I think you can hear some frustration there, right? He's talking about how, I thought maybe it'd be a double. I did not expect it to be a homer. And later he did,
Coors Field.
he did say later in the interview, we don't have this part on video, but he said with a little help from Coors Field, something along those lines, talking about Hunter Goodman's homer, which I don't think is a totally crazy thing to say. Obviously took responsibility as well. It's a tough couple of days for him, right? I mean, Kevin Ginkel, thinking back to where he was last year at this time, going into the playoffs, he was on a really, really nice run. And I mean, not that long ago, Kevin Ginkel was on a really nice run this year too. I think he went about a month without giving up an earned run from the beginning of August, the beginning of September. Just had a couple of rough outings here recently. So yeah, it's been a frustrating couple days for him, especially given that, maybe Goodman's homer is a double in a different ballpark. He talked also about his outing yesterday against the Brewers and how, Willy Adames' double down the line that gave the Brewers a 2-run lead. That was like 83 miles an hour off the bat. He didn't think that was a terrible pitch. He also referenced Jackson Churrio's hit in that inning as well as something that, maybe it wasn't as much hard contact as the numbers would lead you to believe. So tough couple of days for him, but look, he's really important to what the D-backs do. He obviously was their best reliever in the postseason last year, and he's a guy that you have to stick by even when things aren't going so well right now.
Well, this last one's going to break Damon's heart and maybe mine just a little bit, but we have Jerry P. Geraldo Perdomo on that error that ended up costing the Diamondbacks the game in this one. Here's what Domo had to say.
I feel when after the bat throw, I realize I have more time to make, being like nice and easy, but I just rushing, Sorry for the guy. They fighting today, Merrill, 6th inning, Pug, Johnson. It was all on me right there.
Oh, that's heart-wrenching. That's heart-wrenching. And yeah, to at least admit that you rushed it, you realize later that you had enough time. I'm sure that's what a lot of us saw on the broadcast. Like, it didn't appear like it needed to be thrown like that. But that's almost the reason the Diamondbacks lost this game in more than one ways, right? They were just very impatient tonight on defense and on offense, and it ended up costing them the game.
It seemed like, maybe they kind of started pressing there in the middle innings. Like once you hit into the third double play, you're like, all right, we just got to, I guess be more aggressive.
We got to make something happen.
Yeah, exactly. You got to make something happen. And especially in this ballpark, you feel like, being aggressive swinger, especially when a Rockies pitcher is throwing a lot of strikes, you feel pretty good about what could happen there. But yeah, that play in the ninth was just so uncharacteristic from Geraldo Perdomo, and he very rarely makes throwing errors. And yeah, his clock was just totally messed up there. You look back at the replay, and he had plenty of time. I know it was a bit of a slow roller off the bat, so maybe he just felt that Brendan Rodgers was a little faster than he actually is. But that was obviously a brutal, but also kind of fitting end to this game. I mean, that's just kind of encapsulates how the Diamondbacks played, right? It was really about as poor as we've seen. Again, Merrill was good, but in a lot of those other facets of this game.
I wish you were with me, Jesse, because I was doing that thing I do where I watch game day and the game on TV. And on game day, they have that little feature where you can see like a live GPS of where all the runners and all the defenders are located. And I was watching it on that play, and I saw the ball sail past the first baseman, and in game day it looked like it went out into the crowd. And I was like, what happened there? What glitched on this little thing? There was no glitch. It's exactly what happened. But Diamondbacks lose a very important game tonight, 3-2. And of course, Perdomo, he never lies. He takes full responsibility for this. Of course, we also know another thing that does not lie, and that's the numbers, Jesse. What do you have for tonight's number that does not lie?
I kind of referenced this briefly earlier. The number is 20, and that is the number of pitches that Anthony Molina threw to get 9 outs in this game. He entered in a bit of a precarious situation, right? This was Antonio Senzatella gave up a single and a walk to start the 4th inning. And Anthony Molina, again, who came in with about as bad of a stat line as you'll find in this game, frankly. And he instantly gets a line out double play from Jake McCarthy, which was really caused by a base running mistake by Christian Walker over at second. And then Eugenio Suarez very nearly hit a home run, but that one, he hit it to the wrong part of the park. He hit it much farther than Hunter Goodman hit his home run, or I think even Ezekiel Tovar hit his home run, maybe similar to that one. But yeah, he hit it like to straightaway center field, which is obviously a little bit difficult. Brenton Doyle made a nice play there. And then, yeah, he just kept on cruising. It was a 3-pitch 5th inning. That's the inning we referenced earlier. And then he came back and threw a 12-pitch 6th inning. So to allow Molina to come in and not only pitch out of a tough spot like that, but get 9 outs on 20 pitches, for me, that's really where this game started to shift. And honestly, watching this game here in person, it felt like the game was sort of lost at that point. Like, it just felt like this wasn't going to be the Diamondbacks kind of night. And sure enough, that's what happened.
Well, I know this is a rare post game on a Monday, Jesse, but it's still a Monday. And you know, of course, that every year is our year. Every month on this show, Jesse, is Hispanic Heritage Month. Every week is Shark Week. Every day is Earth Day. And we are still very quickly and very briefly going to the mailbag. Damon, do you have the
mailbox? Always something interesting in my mailbox. I try to get to everything in my mailbox. And then once in a while, there's a letter that makes me go, wow, wow, my mailbox.
Jesse might have to leave before we wrap this up, because they're going to literally close the press box down on him. But I can't let you get out of here without answering a few questions. Damon, you got the first one for us? All right. We got Ryan Nelson. Excuse me. Our leadoff hitter, Travis Moore at More For Me, asks, is Ryan Nelson still live to possibly still be in the starting rotation for the playoffs? If not, who has the nod behind Gallen and Kelly, since I assume they're still 1 and 2 as long as they stay healthy? Jesse, what are your thoughts on Ryan Nelson? Of course, it sounds like he will be back before the playoffs, right? It sounds like he should be back hypothetically for that last series with the Padres.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a chance that he will be. That's what the Diamondbacks are hoping for. Torey said that he was very optimistic that Ryan Nelson would be able to come back around that 15th, 16th day, which would have him pitching in that Padres series at the end of the year. And if he does pitch in the Padres series at the end of the year, then, you know, I don't see a reason why he couldn't start a playoff game for you. But I think it's important to be realistic here and just recognize this is a shoulder injury. I don't I don't know exactly the level of severity here, but
Right.
shoulder inflammation is not always just like a 15-day thing, even though it sounds kind of minor. So best case scenario, yes, I think it's very possible that Ryan Nelson is able to check all these boxes and pitch in a potential playoff series, but I don't think it's a given. It's not something I would assume at this point.
Yeah. And then in that case, it would be Merrill Kelly. It would be Zach Gallen, Merrill Kelly 1-2. And then probably Brandon Pfaadt going after them, or maybe Eduardo Rodriguez because of the matchup. I don't know. I mean, Torey might go to his left-hander.
I don't know. I don't know what a game 3 would be like, but that's a long ways from now, Derek. D-backs have a lot to accomplish between now and then, so we'll get too ahead of ourselves.
We can't put the cart before the horse. Damon, what else we got? This one comes from at D-backs, basically at D-backs, with a 4 there for the A. And D-backs asks, is Jarvis shut down for the year because his time on the 60-day IL is up on September 29th? Would be amazing if he could be an option for the pen in October. I do not believe so. I remember from one press conference with Torey that he said that Bryce Jarvis wouldn't be back this season. Jesse, anything that you would know that could contradict that?
Yeah, I'd have to double check on this. I wouldn't totally rule out that possibility. It feels doubtful to me, but I don't think it is completely impossible that Bryce Jarvis could pitch again this season. I heard something about him doing some sort of activities and maybe trying to work his way back for something like that. So maybe I'll double check on that with Torey tomorrow and get a more confident answer, but I wouldn't rule that out completely at this point.
All right, Damon, we got one more. Let's get one more before we go. All right, our guy Jacob Schultz says, okay, Derek, with football season in full swing, I need to know, can the Cardinals borrow Corbin Carroll as a slot wide receiver, Jake McCarthy as a running back, and Christian Walker as a linebacker after the season is over? Please add any other players that you would want to pick. And I think this is a very good question. Jesse, I know you're not a big football guy typically, but I know you're really into it now with fantasy football. You had a huge win tonight over Shane, a dramatic win that rocked the PHNX Fantasy Football League. One for the ages for sure. But anybody else you're throwing out there?
So can we pull up the list one more time? So
we got Corbin Carroll in there. It's a slot wide receiver, Jake McCarthy as a running back, and then Christian Walker at linebacker. Justin Martinez at free safety. I don't hate that. I don't hate that. That seems like an intimidating presence over there in the middle for sure.
I mean, I think like Alec Thomas, maybe like his athleticism in the middle of the field, protecting against the deep ball. I'm sure
Zach Gallen looks like a quarterback.
Perdomo there somehow.
I don't. Zach Gallen quarterback. Yeah, Perdomo's wide receiver material. He has wide receiver all over him.
They were actually throwing a football around today on the field as well as in the clubhouse. Something we see every once in a while. That's not why the Diamondbacks. No, not really. It was a pretty leisurely game of football. Yeah, I think that's about all I got for you here, Derek. They're about to close these windows, so I should probably leave.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna let Jesse get out of here. You make sure to follow Jesse and Friedman on Twitter, and thank you again. We'll see you tomorrow night with another post game show. And I'm gonna bring in Damon. I'm gonna bring in the reliever because I'm gonna need Damon to help me close this thing out. Damon, who do you got from the Diamondbacks going to help the Arizona Cardinals? They didn't look like they needed much help with the way they handled the Rams. The first time beating the Los Angeles Rams at home ever in the existence of Los Angeles being the Los Angeles Rams. But who are you sending over there?
Well, first off, I know Jesse mentioned him real quick, but I think Alec Thomas has to be playing free safety. They oftentimes call free safeties playing center field.
That's right.
So we're dropping Buda Baker into the box, and we're keeping Alec Thomas up top, just roaming center field. Anything that gets thrown in the air, he's just tracking it down. I like Gabby.
You have Buda Baker. You have Buda Baker still spying the running back and keeping Williams in check the way that he did in this entire game and ruined my fantasy football team. Who else are you putting out there? Perdomo at wide receiver. Do you see Jerry P out there?
Yeah, he just doesn't strike me as much of a football player, to be honest with you. But
okay.
I love
Too
Gabby
sweet,
at
too
fullback. Just short, center to the ground, pulling, hitting the hole hard. I think that's a great. I mean, how do you tackle Gabby? The guy is stocky and not tall. I mean, that's low man wins. So I love Gabby at fullback. I think Christian Walker's got to do something to hurt somebody.
Middle linebacker. I still like him at linebacker. I said Zach Gallen at quarterback earlier, but to be honest, based on his mannerisms, I feel like Merrill Kelly would be more the quarterback. Merrill Kelly, like when you see Merrill Kelly's face when he's frustrated, Merrill Kelly when he gives up a home run, his expression, it's very quarterback like when like wide receiver drops a pass, right? That's that same type of like just level of frustration. He also looks like the scrappy Gardner Minshew type, right? Like the guy that's like going to have the great underdog story and he doesn't belong here, but somehow he's a starting quarterback for an NFL team. We don't need one. We don't need one on the Cardinals. We don't need any of these positions because the Cardinals did a fine job. Once they threw to Marvin Harrison Jr., all of the problems were solved. And of course, that's what the Diamondbacks need to figure out. What is our throw to Marvin Harrison Jr.? I don't know right now, but this team needs to figure it out offensively. Because
I'll tell you, you know what, Derek, this is actually
these stalls suck.
This is a perfect time to talk about this. I mean, you brought up Marvin Harrison Jr. The Diamondbacks they have that 1-game lead in the wild card. You know what we need to do? Hold the line. Hold, Derek. Hold. The Diamondbacks are Jon Snow. This is the battle of the bastards. All of the horses are running at us. Hold your position, gentlemen. This is we need to get
you in the clubhouse. We need you to get to call. Forget Jesse being there. We need you to be there, and we need you to fire up the boys because they needed that after a listless performance tonight. But of course, they have a chance to still win the series. They have a chance to make up for it tomorrow with Jordan Montgomery on the mound for the Arizona Diamondbacks. So who knows what's going to happen, but we will be here to cover it. Make sure to join us 20 minutes after the final out. And we'll bring you more, including Jesse still being in Colorado. So until then, hold the line. HTL. Hit that like button before you get out of here. Make sure you follow us on Twitter. I'm at Cap_Caveman with a K. This man next to me is at Damon Dog. That's DAWG. I am Damon's Dogs. Bark, bark. Of course, it's a little different when Jesse isn't here. Our show is at PHNX _D-backs, but all roads do lead to at PHNX _sports on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We thank you guys so much for stopping by. We appreciate your time. We will see you tomorrow night. And until then, have a wonderful evening. And remember, kids, baseball is fun, but it's so much more fun when you score runs at Coors Field. My God.
We all silly like the mayor.